Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, defense slams a family over teen's blistering report against the dad. Attorney at law Dan Jobson on Tuesday fiercely criticized the Simone Campbell Collimore's family for the devastating report written by Omar Collimore's daughter, blaming him for killing her mom because of selfishness and wishing him a life of misery. In a victim impact report read in court, the 14-year-old, who is one of two children for the couple, accused her father of robbing the family of their rock, her mother, and the amazing life that she, the daughter, had. My last name isn't even my last name. I hope you listen to this, have a bitter feeling in your heart, and go to sleep thinking about what you have caused your children to go through these past 6 years and what kind of father you are, the teen wrote. Campbell Collimore and the cab driver, Winston Walters, were killed on January 2, 2018 when men rode up on motorcycles and sprayed them with bullets as they waited to be let inside her Forest Ridge apartment complex in Red Hills, St. Andrew. The 32-year-old mother of two was shot 19 times, while the taxi driver, 36, was shot 5 times. Collimore, 41, a United States businessman, contractor killer Michael Adams, 33, tailor and a salesman, and Dwayne Pink, 34, construction worker, were found guilty of the murders of both victims, as well as a conspiracy to murder, on May 15, following a 4-month-long trial. A fourth defendant, Shakila Edwards, 27, a marketer, was however only convicted of murder conspiracy. On Tuesday, during her plea in mitigation, Jobson accused the family of kicking a man when he is down. She argued that the teenager was influenced by her grandparents to speak ill of her father. From day one, those parents accused him without any evidence at all. They accused Mr. Collimore at the police station of being responsible for the death of Mrs. Collimore, and there has been no communication at all with Mr. Collimore, and these children would be under the influence of their grandparents, who have a totally negative view of their father, and this is obvious, she said. Justice Leighton Pusey, however, reminded the attorney that the evidence in the case has found her client guilty of his wife's murder, and though their suspicions may be wrong at the beginning, the evidence has given them some foundation. It really doesn't help your case one way or another to attack the victim impact statement of a young lady who has lost her mother and feels bad towards her father, he further advised. Noting that the victim impact statement is just a part of the process and is not necessarily one of the factors in the sentencing calculation, the judge urged her to move away from beating up the little girl. Jobson submitted that her client was a devoted and attentive father whose consideration of his children was always foremost in his mind. Noting that the pre-remand sentence was the only mitigating factor that the prosecution had identified, she urged the judge to consider Collimore's role as a father as a mitigating factor. She said he was always caring for his children, and on days when the family went out for recreation, he would be the one at home with the children. She also asked the judge to consider the sacrifice that Collimore made for his wife in agreeing to leave his successful life in the United States behind and relocate to Jamaica. Jobson added that her client has suffered, including loss of finances, freedom, and children, and that his greatest loss is the love of his children. The attorney urged the judge to accept that Collimore is not beyond redemption, urging him not to be influenced by the emotional appeal of the victims. Acting Senior Director of Public Prosecutions, Andre Martin Swaby, last Tuesday asked that both Collimore and Adams be sentenced to life in prison for each of the murders, with the men serving 46.5 years in prison before parole eligibility in respect to Campbell Collimore's murder and 48.5 years for Walter's murder. She, however, recommended a slightly lower sentence for Pink based on the minimal role he played in the murder plot. Martin Swaby also asked that he be sentenced to life in prison for both the murders, but that he serve 41.5 years before being eligible for parole for Campbell Collimore's murder and 43.5 years for the other murder. Pertaining to Edwards, she recommended 6.5 years, but the judge told her she could only propose 3.5 years, as the maximum sentence is 10 years and the convict has already served 6.5 years in prison. Martin Swaby, in asking for the lengthy sentences, asked the judge to treat the case as one of the worst, proposing a starting point of 45 years for Collymore and Adams and 40 years for Pink. On Tuesday, Jobson and Pink's lawyer, Ernest Davis, asked the judge to use the minimum starting point of 15 years. Jobson argued that her client should not be given a higher starting point than the shooter Dwayne Wade, who was given a 35-year sentence for each of the murders and 8 years for the gun he used in the killings. Davis asked the judge to consider that his client was not the instigator or triggerman and that he was not present at the murder scene. He also asked the judge to consider his client's medical condition, which the court is to verify. Davis also told the judge that Pink is a good prospect for rehabilitation. The other two convicts' lawyer made their submission last week. Adams' lawyer, Sanjay Smith, had asked the court to depart from the Crown's starting point and instead begin at 30 and 35 years while begging for mercy for his client. Attorney at law Genoja MacDonald asked the court to treat her client Edwards as an individual and to impose a sentence that would not be crushing. The trial heard that Collymore hired Adams to facilitate the murder of his wife and that Edwards and Pink allegedly played a role in surveilling the businesswoman's movements before her death. Collymore's motive was to benefit from his wife's $100 million life insurance policy, the court heard. FSC employees Restive over unsettled wage talks. Clerical and administrative employees of the Financial Services Commission are Restive. This follows the delay in settling outstanding wage and fringe benefits negotiations between their union, the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, and the Commission. UK's President Vincent Morrison told the news that the union have been negotiating with the agency since last year for new wages covering the period 2022 to 2025, but the pace of the negotiations has been very slow. He said the union met with the management on Tuesday and a contact was made with the Ministry of Finance regarding the issue.
They have been trying to settle a new collective labor agreement with the management, and for some reason, the pace of the negotiation very slow. The workers called us in. We had a meeting with the management this morning, and contacts were made with the Ministry of Finance about the issue. We are waiting the management to get back to certainly either today or tomorrow, so we can know exactly when these negotiations will be settled. Want to say that I found the management quite willing and able, ready to craft an agreement, but as you know, the FSC falls under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Finance, and they will have to await formal instructions from the Honorable Minister.
No progress made in probe of Integrity Commission director's shooting. The Police High Command says it has not made any further progress in its investigation into last year's shooting of a director of the Integrity Commission. Ryan Evans, the Director of Corruption Prevention, was attacked and shot in the car park of the agency in New Kingston on September 21 when he arrived for work. He was also robbed of a suitcase containing cash by his attackers. But speaking at a press briefing on Tuesday afternoon, Deputy Commissioner in charge of crime, Fitz Bailey, said Mr. Evans has not been cooperating with the police in the investigation.
Whilst we are aware of the incident and we have sought to appreciate the complaint, to this date, based on the information I got from our investigator, the complainant has not given a statement. He refused from giving the statement under the pretext that he is afraid. That's what has been communicated to us. So we can't proceed our progress and investigation without a formal complaint. So we want to appeal to the individual who was injured to make himself available to be interviewed and to give the police a statement so they can progress the investigation.
Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.